Hello and welcome to Thrive Guys, episode 28, the show where we explore how we can get more done, be more effective and live happier lives. My name is Joe Page and I'm here just like every other week with my friend and yours, Mr. Dan Short, otherwise known as Daniel. Daniel, how are you doing this week?
Good morning. That was very unexpected and it's kind of thrown me off.
I always like to keep you on your toes, mate. I always like to keep you on your toes.
It's been absolutely bloody freezing this week, but it's been good, hasn't it?
Debatable whether it's been good or not, but it has been freezing. It has been freezing, but you know, that is the time of year that we are in at the moment. In the UK, in January, it is rather cold. So
yeah, exactly. I thought I was going to have to defrost the MacBook before we started this morning.
Do you not use it that much then?
No, it's my podcast and audio specific one.
Oh, well, yeah, it doesn't get a lot used to then if it's the podcast one. It's been about a month since we've last recorded a show.
Correct.
But I had, speaking about recording the show, I had something that I just wanted to share, just because it's interesting and, you know, just a little bit of pre-show, a little bit of pre-flight preparation to get us warmed up. Now, I don't know whether, I think we talked about this last time, or maybe a couple of times ago, about my use of Obsidian. So obviously we are part of the Notion Nation, and we very much enjoy that particular... We wave
the flag every episode. Yep.
We tend to wave that flag every episode, and this episode might not be any different to that, but I suppose we'll see as we go through. I have moved away from Notion into Obsidian for my journal, and primarily because I wanted to have I wanted to try out Obsidian because everybody's been raving about it in the tech community and on tech Twitter and all of that good stuff. So I wanted to see what all the hubbub was about. But also I wanted to have a system that was offline, that I could access offline. And if I ever wanted to move away from Notion, or if Notion ever shut down for whatever reason, I didn't have to then consider, okay, well, what am I now going to do with my journal? You know, because Obsidian is great because it is just a bunch of markdown files that you can go and take and move to any other system if you so choose. Now, one of the things that I was pushing up against in terms of, I suppose, some friction was the mobile app. One of the things I always struggle with when it comes to writing in my journal is actually writing in my journal and remembering to do it. And I moved away from, you know, the whole Thomas Edison, Benjamin Franklin style recording things for posterity, and just wanting to capture quick thoughts as the day goes on, you know, just little thoughts that I have. I wanted to basically remove all of the friction between having a thought, getting it down, and having it then in the journal. So I started using Drafts, and I've used Drafts, and I've talked about Drafts as an app for a long time, and it's a really popular application on, you know, Mac, iOS, iPadOS. It's fantastic for just getting things down. It's the best place to start any text, whether that's a text message or an email or a journal. And the really powerful thing about it is its connection to shortcuts. So, you know, iOS and Mac, now macOS shortcuts, and the integrations to that platform, but also its powerful actions. So you can basically hoover up any text or any input from a shortcut, have it in Drafts, and then there's a whole plethora of actions that you can do off the back of that to get it into another app or out of Drafts, and it's quite unique in that way. So I created, and I'll share a link to the actual shortcut in the show notes. But I essentially created a sort of a daily note appender, if that's even a word. So Obsidian, you have the concept of daily notes, and that's a big part of how I use Obsidian. But because the mobile app is a little bit ropey, it's not very user friendly, I don't think. It takes a little while to actually get to where you want to get to in order to then actually start writing. So I've got a little app on my home screen where I tap it and it appends, it already has pre-populated the relevant backlink for my journal, and it also captures the current time that I'm writing this particular entry. And so then I write whatever I'm...
Yeah.
Say again?
That's the power, the timestamp, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I can kind of, look back on it, and it just basically does all of that for me, just using shortcuts, because they're all native actions. So I write the thing that I want to write, and then I hit go, and essentially what happens is it appends a draft in drafts, and then runs an action in drafts to append the daily note text file in my iCloud drive. And by appending that note, it updates Obsidian, because Obsidian is just pointing to text files. And so I bypass the whole app essentially, and can just hit a button, type what I want to type, hit go, and jobs are good. So I was like, this is amazing. Like, what else can I do with this? What else can I kind of automate or shorten down the cycle for? Mm-hmm. And that then led me to my sleep journal, which is all part of my daily notes. And those of you who follow me on Twitter will have seen the what's the best way of putting this? The bleak reality of my current sleep schedule. Having a 4-month-old baby who's going through the most horrific sleep regression he could probably ever go through has meant that my sleep has been at the forefront of my mind for most of the day and night and day and night. And I have now set up a little button, a little complication on my Apple Watch, which basically captures, I hit the button, it captures the date, the time, and it appends my sleep journal, which is basically using a backlink in for my sleep journal in Obsidian. And it asked me a question. It basically asked me, did I have to rock Finn back to sleep in order to kind of resettle him? And I just say yes or no. And then it appends a note in drafts, which basically captures all the times that I've woken up that night. Because what I've always found is I use sleep tracking, and I use Sleep Plus Plus at the moment for sleep tracking, but it doesn't always capture the times where I've woken up, but I've not got up and moved around.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So whenever I wake up and look at the time, and it's like, okay, well, it's 2:15 in the morning, I just hit this button, hit yes or no, and it appends that draft. And then in the morning, I just hit an action, and it updates my daily note in Obsidian.
That's the thing. If you're not tracking it yourself, you're not sure how often you're actually getting up, because
exactly.
If you've got some of these apps that aren't capturing that you're waking up at 1 a.m. When you look at the data, you're like, actually, why am I tired? I've had a full 8 hours. It's like, well, I know I've been up 3 or 4 times.
Exactly.
It's just chaos. Yeah, I think it's really cool that the way you've designed that. I used to do something similar for going to the gym, because I was like, I want to know how much value I'm getting out of the gym. This was back in 2017, to be honest. And I used to hit a button on my watch, and that used to just write a data entry to Excel. Same sort of thing, using date and time. That was it. And I would look at the spreadsheet at the end of the month and just go, right, how much value am I getting versus how much I'm investing in the gym?
Yeah,
which is quite cool. Similar concept.
Yeah, makes sense. Similar concept, exactly.
Yeah, a lot more in depth. It's wicked.
Well, it records things that when I look at it, I'm like, oh my God, how am I awake?
Joe, as I say every day to myself, you can't manage what you don't measure. So it's worth measuring to work out what what's actually going on, so you can improve on it. It's like when I look at my time capturing, it's on the forefront of my mind, because it's something I only got into at the arse end of last year. But looking at that, I kind of actually established that's why I'm so stressed. I'm working 70-hour weeks on certain things, a lot of active work. Like, of course I'm tired, of course I'm grumpy. So what can I do to change that? And it's like the same thing, if you're knowing how much sleep you're needing, it's like, how can you fit that in, or what can you do, or how's it changing? Thing is, you've got like an unpredictable variable, Well,
I was going to say, I love the sort of the principle of you can't, manage what you don't measure. However,
you can't measure.
This information is completely unactionable, because okay, I'm capturing that I'm waking up 4 or 5 times in the night, but I can't do anything about it. It's because I have a baby. But it helps me understand my situation better. It helps me feel like I've got some more control over it, I guess, even though I really don't. But,
that's why it's called a journal, though, isn't it? It's about helping you mentally. And do you know what? If there's people listening to this, it'll probably help them in terms of understanding how kind of difficult it is as well.
Yeah, and also understanding how actually in reality you can survive on so little sleep, which kind of leads me quite nicely onto win of the week. So shall we Should we do win of the week?
Let's do it.
Excellent. So, for those of you who have never listened to this show, welcome. Hope you enjoy the last 10 minutes of me prattling on about apps and automation and shortcuts and all that good stuff. But Win of the Week is a segment at the top of each show that we use to celebrate somewhere that we've won. We don't like starting the show on a negative note. Today is a little bit different to that, but I've tried to find the positive in it. But we use Win of the Week, so we find something to celebrate every week. And we'd be really keen to see or to read your wins of the week. So if you have something where you've won this week, share it with us on Twitter or Instagram. Our handles are @ThriveGuysPod. So tag us in your win of the week, and we'll definitely read it. So Dan, in true Thrive Guys fashion, why don't you kick us off with win of the week? What is your win of the week this week?
My win of this week is that I started a new job on the first day back.
Excellent.
And it's been very hard to gauge kind of how the rest of the year is going to pan out. But I'm feeling a bit relieved and glad that it's actually come to fruition, because the job change kind of came late last year, and it was half based on a conversation I've had with certain members of leadership about how we can change certain processes and all that sort of stuff. And it kind of just led into a conversation of, well, why don't you do it? And I was like, okay. And I didn't think it was going to happen, but I'm in the new role and I'm settling in already. First week in, it's very busy, but it's a different kind of level of work and a different level of freedom. So
Brilliant.
That's my win.
That's great. Well, congratulations on the new role. I'm very happy that you are out of the role that you were in last year, because for a number of reasons, probably selfishly, you might complain a little bit less about work in our iMessage chat, and you might be a little bit happier about going to work every day, which I'd be delighted to see, because you have had some right old rants over the last 12 months about various things at your job. So hopefully things will improve for you. And as I said last episode, it's absolutely well deserved, and you have the aptitude and attitude to do good things. So
we've also got the positive of not having to work weekends anymore. So from a podcast perspective, hopefully we get a bit more of a routine involved in that, which we've been lacking somewhat, because it's you've got your life and your situation that you just explained for the last 10 minutes, which we're
all fun. His name is Finn. His name isn't Situation, but yeah, I get your point.
So you've got Finn, and it's hard finding the time, but it's made more difficult by having to have worked every other weekend basically in the last last 6 to 8 months, which has been painful. So now we've got that extra wiggle room, which is good.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yes, indeed. Long may it continue. So my win this week didn't happen this week, but what are you going to do? So what? It's a big enough win that it's worth mentioning, So our financial year at work runs from July to June, and the target never goes down. The target always goes up. And I had one of the largest increases in my personal quota in my career, essentially. Last financial year, we talked about it on an earlier episode. I hit £1 million of ABC, which is kind of the averaged order intake measurement that my company uses. Now, I've hit my annual quota in the first 6 months of the year, and that's great, right? That's an achievement in and of itself. But what I'm really proud of is I did that whilst managing a new team. So that being a completely new experience for me. So I also, not only do I run my own sort of deals and have my own customers, I also run a team of account managers as well. So I'm juggling 2 jobs in essence. And I've also done that having no sleep and having no sugar for a month as well. So if that's not a win, I don't know what is. So I thought it was worth sharing and celebrating, because I'm really proud of myself, and I'm proud that I've managed to hold it all together despite what feels like ever-changing chaos, both in and outside of work. So, if I was ever going to pat myself on the back for something, it would be that. So, yeah, there we go.
Well done, mate. self-affirmation is great as well. So,
Boom.
acknowledging your accomplishments is really good.
Indeed. Sweet deals. Right. Moving right along to the meat and potatoes, the beef and spuds of today's episode. So those of you who will remember 2 episodes ago, we set out a new slurry, maybe it's the wrong word, but a new set of challenges for the productivity hack experiment. I would call it season 2. It's every somewhat successful show or season gets another season. So we thought we'd give it another shot and see what would happen. And this was all about abstinence. And in the month of December, we set ourselves the challenge of removing refined sugar from our diets for 30 days. And yes, I do hear you saying, Joe, Dan, December is Christmas. Why did you decide to remove refined sugar from the 1 month of the year where all you eat is refined sugar? And my answer to that is, dunno.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of thoughts on this. We're going to talk about today how it went. We're going to run through the good, the bad, and conclude ultimately whether it was worth sticking with or binning off. And so I figured where I wanted to start with this is just kind of give my exec summary. So, talk about generally what I thought in a sort of too long, didn't listen sort of way. And then we can go through perhaps some of the detail, of which, to be honest, there isn't loads of detail. But yeah, I'll happily take the floor if you'll offer it me, and I'll just kind of give my 2 pence on the situation. So, as I mentioned a couple of episodes ago when we kind of set out what we wanted to do here, I figured that this was worth giving a go because it was the one thing that, of all of the abstinence things that you can read about on, Productivity Hack Twitter and Productivity Hack, Business Insider articles, it was the one thing that I hadn't tried. So I tried giving up coffee before, I tried giving up social media before, but refined sugar was still one of those ones that has just kept me hanging on, right? I think the experiment that we ran, though, I think was flawed. And I'll explain why. For me, it was really hard to discern whether I was actually getting any value from quitting this or not. Mainly because I have not been getting anything close to what could be considered quality sleep. It's maddening, actually. It's even harder to abstain from stuff like sugar and coffee and treats and, all of those little vices that make the day a little bit brighter when you're chronically sleep deprived. And let me tell you, you've probably heard this on a couple of episodes that we've had over the last couple of months. And if you follow me on Twitter, you'll have seen my descent into despair. I have been damn sleep deprived. So it's been difficult to measure whether I've actually gotten any value from this. And that's been disappointing. So that's kind of that'll be sort of my prelude, my kind of preclude to how I thought this went. It's been difficult for me to see any value.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the mental effort required to search through absolutely everything you're eating to identify whether it's got refined sugar in it.
Well,
it's just, It's crazy. I felt like a damn detective every time I wanted to pick up a snack. And it took me twice as long to decide what I wanted to eat. Every time I wanted to eat, anything at all. Yeah. It was painful. And I can't imagine trying to do that when you're tired as well and want that quick fix of, something sweet and something tasty.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, you've hit the nail on the head. This was very, very difficult for a couple of main reasons, right? Number one is that everything has refined sugar in.
Amen.
All of the good stuff, even the things that you would not consider or even think that they would have refined sugar in, has refined sugar in. Crisps. Most flavors of crisps have refined sugar in. Most flavors of nuts have refined sugar in. Most things that you don't make from scratch yourself have some form of refined sugar in. And they try and hide it from you as well. These sneaky little buggers. They'll call it dextrose or fructose or, what did I see? There was a few other names as well. I can't remember exactly what they are, but it's things like that, right? That you go, that doesn't say sugar. This is safe for me to have. But actually, dextrose is a type of sugar. Fructose is a type of sugar.
You notice it tastes amazing, and you're like, hang on, something's off here.
Yeah,
it
exactly.
Tastes like cardboard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I bought these smoked almonds, and I read the back, and I was like, oh, fantastic, no sugar. And I ate them for a week, the first week of December, and then I looked at the back again. I was like, I need to make sure that this is right here. And then it was called something like coconut sugar or something, and I missed it because there's all of these ingredients in it, and it's hidden at the bottom, and it's like, for God's sake, I can't even eat something that is actually quite boring, right? Smoked almonds aren't the most exciting snack, and that leads me to my second main reason why this was so difficult, and that's everything without refined sugar. So every snack that you could possibly think of that doesn't have refined sugar in is really, really fucking boring.
Absolutely.
Utterly boring. Even you might enjoy it for a while. Like so one of my favourite types of nuts are cashews. Cashew nuts are delicious, right? That's my opinion, And they're sweet, they're fatty, they've got that kind of natural sweetness in. Delicious, okay? If you eat salted cashews, which don't have any sugar in, you'll be pleased to hear, for a month, you start to think, these are actually quite boring. There's not really a lot going on here. And that was the second. It was just a bleak experience. And every snack that you have is just like, I just might as well not bother.
No, I agree with that. But you're making it sound like prison. We had the same bloody meal for
It felt like
1 month
prison.
solid.
It felt like prison. It felt like I was shackled.
This is hands down the hardest experiment we've done. Like, without a doubt, it tops all of them. Like, above cold showers, which I thought was going to be the worst. This is above that. It was so difficult to do. Like, cold showers, I kind of just, sunk into it and was like, great, I'll do it. But I think I took a slightly different route to you in the interest of kind of experimentation with this one.
Right.
In that I tried some of the sugar-free sweets and biscuits. And I did not have a good time.
See, that was your mistake, number one. Like, why would you buy something that's meant to be delicious with all of this stuff in, and they take all of the things that make it delicious out?
Well, honestly,
you're never going to have a good time.
Yeah, but with taste, I give it like an 8 out of 10. There's a lot of tasty stuff when it comes to biscuits and stuff like that. Texture, 5 out of 10. Like the gummy sweets and stuff, no thanks. They're very, very chewy. I'll let Kerry have some as well. And the overall digestion experience is a 2 out of 10.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, your stomach does not like it, I'll be honest.
I've never rated any food on overall digestion experience, but I think it is actually a mechanic that you should measure when picking a particular type of food. I think it's a fair one to
it's the one I landed on look at when I was trying to find a polite way to word it. So
well, that's the whole point, right? So you've found something that through the magic of modern science has a taste of sugar with no sugar in, but there's no such thing as a free lunch, Dan. Everything comes at a cost, and I think you found the cost of
I paid it, yeah,
you paid it dearly.
I paid the piper. It was bad.
Yeah, I did not even bother going for those kind of I don't like those kind of replacement things. You can even buy chocolate chip cookies with no sugar in. It's like, well, that's like, have you ever made a cookie before? Have you ever made cookies? They are basically butter and sugar with a little bit of flour in.
That's like everything, isn't it?
I cannot fathom how you could. Yeah, well,
18 knobs of butter and 15 bags of sugar, and then it would give you free biscuits at the end of it.
Yeah. Well, but cookies in particular are literally that, right? They are mainly cooked sugar with some butter and a little bit of flour, and that's it. So I don't know how you could make a cookie without basically the primary ingredient. And it's for that reason why they remain on the shelf and they will never enter my basket. Never going to happen. Because what ungodly chemical monstrosity have they cooked up in their Frankenstein lab to go, you don't need sugar for this.
You just
We're going to make it using, I don't know, beef tallow or something absolutely disgusting. So anyway, we're digressing, but principally it was rubbish and it was not an enjoyable experience. But that's okay if you can net some productivity benefits off of the back of it, right? So that, we knew it was not going to be an enjoyable experience. However, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And if we were to get some positive productivity boosts from the hard thing that we had to do, then okay, you can see a return on your investment, right? So just to recap, we were looking for gains in the following areas. We were looking for better focus, we were looking for better sleep, and we were looking for fewer mood swings and crashes and, a more consistent level of energy over the day. And, I regret to report that I was less focused in December. I slept terribly in December, and I was absolutely horrific to be around. And if you want proof of that, then just tweet my girlfriend. I'll put links to her Twitter in the show notes. That if you want proof, then just ask her. I was not fun, and I think maybe it wasn't wholly down to the fact that I wasn't eating refined sugar, but it certainly didn't help. So look, all in all, I have to mark this down as a fail, a complete, utter fail.
Absolutely, 100%. I got zero benefits from doing it. I expected at the end of the month I'd feel slimmer and healthier, like when we done intermittent fasting. Like that was almost immediate. I felt so much better for it within a couple of weeks, and this I just felt nothing. I was just like, I'm not eating because I think when we discussed it before, none of us have like a proper sweet tooth. Like we both enjoy desserts and enjoy sweet treats, but I think you occasionally have a biscuit and it's like a dessert sometimes. But I limit all of my sugar intake basically to a Friday, like intended sugar intake. Ignoring all the stuff that just kind of has sugar in it. So it wasn't like a big difference for me. I definitely didn't focus more. I can't note down that I had better sleep. Same with the mood swings and crashes. I didn't really have any metric for it, but I don't feel like anything was different at all, mate. So failure from my side.
Yeah, and anecdotally on all three of those, I felt less focused because I wasn't sleeping great. And this is what I mean, right? It's a little unfair because, I'm not. It's difficult to do an apples comparison because in my personal situation is pretty dire at the moment when it comes to sleep. But you're not like that. You don't have the same situation as me, and you didn't net any benefit either. So with that in mind, it probably does prove that whilst I didn't, it was an unfair experiment on my end, my results are still valid, if that makes sense.
Exactly that.
I suppose if we're to think about the good, I suppose, and it's hard to, but I suppose one good thing that came out of this was awareness. The only redeeming thing that I can think of was that it's opened my eyes to just how bad a problem sugar is in our diets. It's everywhere, right? And we are completely beholden to what these companies put in their stuff. And actually the options available if you want to opt out of that, principle, philosophy, I don't know what negative word you could associate with it. That's really hard, especially if you don't want to make everything from scratch, because who has the time to do that? Nobody does. Nobody really. I mean, if you have the time to make everything from scratch, then, you need to have a look at yourself because you're not doing enough elsewhere. And that's really disheartening, actually. I didn't think it would be this difficult to actually find things to have that didn't have refined sugar in some way, shape, or form. And I suppose that makes me feel a little bit worse for the world. But having awareness of it now and understanding more that refined sugar, if I did ever want to cut it cold turkey, I need to make some really, really wholesale lifestyle changes, at least I'm aware of that now. We've gone through this last month, and I've got an awareness of it. But
no, that's exactly how I felt, and like that's the only good I got out of it. Is just the awareness of how much stuff just has sugar in, and that's where I'll get the value from. The little bit of extra attention to detail will hopefully allow me to define kind of what's a healthier choice for me when looking at, let's say it's an A/B option. You can look at the sugar intake as opposed to just being like, that's lower in fat, so I'll have that instead, which I was painfully unaware of. I just didn't realize how much stuff had sugar in it. So
sugar is a much bigger problem than fat. Fat is actually good. Fat is something that we need. Sugar is something that we need less of, but we always get more of. And I'm not going to go into all of the detail around that, but there's probably lots of things on the internet that you can read and watch, dear listener, that explains what happened over the last sort of 30, 40 years when it came to fat being the enemy, and remove fat out of food and you remove most of the taste out of food, and so a lot of companies replaced that fat with sugar. And that's why we're in the situation that we're in now, broadly.
That's why we suffered through December 2021.
Well, yeah. Did we suffer through the whole of December? Let's be honest with the listeners here. I think we have to be honest, right? We have to say how long we actually lasted.
You first.
I'll go first. No, I'm happy to go first. Look, this is a safe environment, right? I think I lasted 18 days. I don't remember when exactly I messaged you on iMessage, but I messaged you towards the most stressful part of December, and I said, I have to admit, I've had a quality streak. Because the problem is, it's Christmas. So not only are all of the chocolates and Ferrero Rochers, which I'll add are my favourite treat, not only is all of that on special, right? My whole household hasn't quit sugar. It's just me. So it's not fair for Kaylee to not have anything in the house that she can enjoy. Therefore, the temptation was there the entire month.
You're like Bilbo in Lord of the Rings when he sees the ring again.
Yeah.
Every time Kaylee picks up a biscuit.
Yeah. Exactly. Just that. That part of that film that is quite scary, actually.
Triggering, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite scary. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It was that kind of thing, Oh, wouldn't it be nice if I could just hold it one more time, put it in my mouth? I mean, I broke my fast in the best possible way because we had Quality Street, and obviously we all know that the best one in a Quality Street is the purple one, and that's what I had. And then I had a fudge. And then I had one of the green ones, and then it was all over from there. And then I abstained again for another couple of days, but 23rd of December came around, and I just said, you know what, fuck this. This is shit. Pardon my French, but that's exactly what I said, and that's how I felt at the time. And I just basically ate an entire tray of Ferrero Rocher in one sitting, and I didn't feel bad about it. I don't feel bad about it. It was the right thing to do, and I'd do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a couple of days after you because I was like, well, Joe's given up. He's had a Quality Street. And I genuinely hadn't had anything up until that point other than giving myself gut ache, suffering for the cause, you know me.
Oh, yeah.
But when you sent me that text, I was like, well, that's almost like a free pass. So I think it was like 3 days after that. Me and Kerry just went to Tim Hortons and got some food from there.
Oh, yeah.
A takeaway, and they do at the front. They've got, I don't know if you've ever been, but they do these I think they're called crullers, which are like twisted donuts coated in sugar. So I went full on then, and I had one of those, and it was amazing.
Decent,
and it nearly kept me up all night because I was like, I'm not used to this level of joy.
I can imagine
and energy. But yeah, and same with December. Like I anticipated at least breaking it on Christmas Day, just for the pure fact that I'd be surrounded by people enjoying themselves and having dessert, hopefully. And it was like, I don't want to be that guy that's just like putting my hand up and saying, not today,
Yeah.
I'll bring my own sugar-free apple. I'll bring a banana to the table. Can you just chop that up and put it on my plate for me? Thank you.
I mean, that's a depressing Christmas pudding, isn't it? A banana and an apple. Yeah, we probably did pick the wrong time of year to try it. But I think even if we did it in March, I think we would have arrived at the same conclusion. So, I mean, I'll ask the question, Dan. do you think we will stick with this, or do you think that this isn't worth the paper it's written on or the websites they're written on?
Absolutely not. I'm not doing it.
No.
And no one can make me do it.
No.
I don't feel like I have a sugar-rich lifestyle. I'm not, I'm not overweight. I'm pretty much average man. Like, if you look at all of my stats, I'm average in everything. Yeah. I'm not an athlete, and I'm not chunky.
Painfully average. No, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly that, mate. And if it was like, I needed to lose a bit of extra weight and stuff, I'd kind of crack on. But I feel like I live quite an active lifestyle, so changing this part of my diet had no real tangible impact on me. So yeah, I don't think it's something that I'm going to continue, because there's no point in flogging a dead horse just to get results, kind of thing, right? I experienced no positives from it, so let's not do it.
No, I totally agree. I'm really disappointed, though. I'm bitterly disappointed, because I was really hoping that it would. And this has been a overarching theme with these productivity hack experiments. I guess this is not necessarily a productivity sort of hack, but it's adjacent to that, right? You quit bad things. It makes you more effective. I haven't seen, from all of the things that we've done, cold showers, waking up at 4:30, intermittent fasting probably was the best one, but it wasn't, a night and day. Social media actually was probably the best one, but even still, and there was some other ones that I don't even remember, like meditation, that was the other one. None of these things have really changed my life. Things are kind of still the same. And I wonder whether there's something in that, whether there's something basically telling us that this is all a load of rubbish.
It's tough, because I think a lot of these kind of lean into the whole building a habit and sticking at something. Like, we've tried these for short amounts of times, right? And it's about, like, a lot of these kind of center around, like, treating yourself better. That's it. And if you can do that, and you can learn to treat yourself better, then you're going to have better results and kind of live a better life, which is, the end goal, isn't it?
Yeah. But we have tried these long enough to form a habit, but the habits have never stuck. And I wonder why that is. I've not really given it much thought, but it's just something that struck me right now is, these don't seem like they are. I mean, maybe we're picking the wrong things, but none of them have changed my life yet. Social media was actually probably the one that, at the time, was what I needed the most.
Yeah, agreed with that entirely.
Just a quick update on that by way of follow-up. I haven't installed Facebook or Instagram on my phones since we did that. I've not really engaged with them still. I have engaged with other parts of social media, but we'll talk about that on our next episode, which I'm very excited about. So, well, this has been quite a short episode for one of our shows, Dan, but I think we've covered everything that we need to cover. So, unless you've got anything else that you wanted to sum up with?
Nothing from me, sir.
Good. Cool. Well, look, thank you very much for listening, everybody. We'll put links to our social media in the show notes if you want to have a discussion about whether you've quit refined sugar and it changed your life. I'd be really keen to hear how that happened and what you did differently perhaps to what we did. So I'll leave links to all of our stuff in the show notes. But until next time, have a good day, week, month, and we'll see you soon. Say goodbye,
Adios.
Dan.
Adios, goodbye.
Arrivederci.